Okay, let's get started on the rcplanebuilder.com Slicko 2 EPP 3D plane. First thing you want to do is make sure you got all your parts and make sure that you relieve any of the laser cutout pieces that may still be in the slots. One of the first steps is to relieve the slot tabs between the upper and lower fuse. If you notice, they're kind of tapered. Now we're going to cut at the tapers, that way it'll be easier to slide into the horizontal fuse. Doesn't have to be cut perfectly. This is going to go in between the joints so you won't see it. Just make sure that you're cutting at the taper. That'll make it slide into the foam a little easier. It'd be best to do this on the cardboard box it came in. That way you're not cutting into your table or anything. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just get it fairly close. Make sure you use a good sharp X-Acto. Okay, now that you got that done, we'll move on to the horizontal fuse. Also, your excess pieces, keep this. We can use that in a little bit. You can use it for small repairs, and also to make some reinforcement for the nose. Move this stuff out of the way. Okay, we're going to use welder adhesive. You can use foam tack, and there's various other contact type cements that'll work on EPP. Prior to getting this glued up, what you want to do is flex all your surfaces. Once you flex them for a little bit, take yourself some vegetable cans or pop cans, etc., and just weight that stuff down for an hour or so. It just helps break in the EPP hinge. There'll be less resistance on your servo, so you'll get max deflection. Okay, this is a pretty easy step. We're just going to lay beads of glue on all the joints. Okay, there's the tail piece. Also keep in mind, the way this is cut, it's almost impossible to put the elevator and stab on upside down or anything. Now we're going to do the wing halves. Get a fair amount of glue on the bead and the part. but don't overdo it because then you'll just be wasting it and there'll be a lot of excess squeezing out once you assemble it. Then you'll have to wipe off. And just go up to the hinge line, don't go past it. This part doesn't need any glue because it's part of the structure and the spar will glue in right here. Okay, we're just going to get this to tack up. Push it together, rub it back and forth a little bit to get all the glue over the entire area. Pull it apart. Line this up. Apart, let the glue tack up, and we'll give it about a minute or so, and the glue will tack up, and then it'll just help it cure a little quicker. While this is setting up, just to keep things moving along, you've got a hardware pack, and it comes with your wheel hubs and stuff. We'll start on that while we're doing this. You should also have your pre-cut carbon. You'll have a couple of pieces that are probably, I'd say, about 6.5, 7 inches long, and there's a little bit of tape on there. Just pull the tape off these pieces. Pull out your wheel hardware. Okay, you're going to have a couple small pieces. The axles, just slide those in. There's one. And be kind of careful when you're pushing these in so that you don't break off these tabs. These tabs hold on the wheel pants. And you want your wheels to go on like this. The reason for that will just keep them away from the wheel pants from rubbing. And these have a pretty good fit for the outside. You can use a little CA to secure the actual axles to this piece. And then the gear legs just slide right in, and you can apply some CA and then hit with kicker, and you'll have your landing gear assembled. Okay, while that's still tacking up, we'll assemble the wheel pants, relieve the parts from the laser cutout pieces they came in, and we're going to just apply some welders around here and put these on. Keep in mind, one is a left, one is a right, so you'll be applying them in that orientation. See if that gets on the camera, Doesn't have to be perfect, just get a nice little bead over it. And try not to get on your fingers, like I just did. Well, same thing, just apply, move it around a little bit, get the glue all over the surface. And for the wheel pants, it's not a structural piece, so we'll just let this set up just like this until it cures. I'll just rub that around, get a good adhesion, and spread the glue along the entire piece. And we'll set that aside. Okay, the glue's tacked up for a little bit now, so we'll finish the horizontal fuse pieces now. Just check alignment, make sure you got a good contact area and adhesion. And just work the seams between the joints good so that they're not uneven. And they'll basically be invisible. You won't even notice it. And just move the piece around a little bit so that the glue isn't adhering it to your parchment paper. Now let's move on to this step, which is just putting a little glue on these collars. Just a little bead. Once it compresses a little bit, when you put the wheel pants on, it'll smear around good and cover the whole surface. Trying to get this angled right so that the camera picks it up. And keep in mind, one's a left, one's a right. And just get it about center. Let's take a look on the other side. Just rub it around and get a good glue joint. And just set these aside. next step will be relieving these tabs to install the spar. Something optional you can do on the spar and the control horns, etc., is take an exact or a Sharpie and color in the spar. I'm going to leave mine natural color. You can do the same thing for the plywood motor mount piece. You could also use paint, but that'll take a bit longer and you gotta wait for it to dry. While we're letting this set up, you notice there's two different sizes. Make sure you keep track of the different sizes. The larger ones go on the inside, the smaller ones go on the outside. We won't be doing that for a bit, but while we're letting this stack up, to keep things moving, we'll slice these. And all you want to do is make a cut from here to relieve it so that you can slide it over the wing once we've got more assembled. And it's best to do all your cuts over the cardboard box it came in, so you're not cutting up your work surface or using one of those fancy mats. That way you're not cutting into your table. And it makes it go a little easier than the way I'm doing it, but I'm working with what I got. And make sure you've got a good sharp X-Acto blade. It's about time for me to change this one. Okay, we've let this cure for about 15-20 minutes. We're going to move on to the next steps. Next step's going to be installing the spar. And also, now that it's tacked up, we can mark our locations for the control horns that are in the hardware kit. You could skip this step and do it at the end, but it'll be a little easier while the plane's still flat. You go down 135 millimeters and mark your cut for your rudder horn. Let's get up to 135. That's pretty close. And just make a mark. And I'll give you a reference point for that. For the elevator, it's 150. And for the ailerons, you can see I marked it. 10 millimeters here, 15 here, and just make a 20 millimeter line. And we'll cut this later, but we'll just mark them for now. Okay, the next step is to relieve these pieces on the wing, which kind of hold everything together while it's in the box. But before we put our spar in, we got to relieve these. So we'll do that now. There's a couple ways you could do the spar, and the way I'm going to do it, I'll turn it upside down, That way most of the excess as you slide it in will be on the top so you can wipe it off. What I like to do, and to keep your fingers from getting tacky if you're not using latex gloves, is just put about a thumb and a forefinger's length worth of glue on one side. See if you can see that. Just put about that much there so that you can hold the spar and do both sides and run a bead. That way it'll keep your fingers dry. And when you push it in on that side, you'll have a nice amount of glue there without getting your fingers full of glue. Kind of hard doing this for the camera. Doesn't have to be perfect. You can use a dowel to smear this once you've got the bead. And turn it over and do the other side. Now I'm going to pause this for a minute while I put on a latex glove so I can smear this around without getting my fingers all full of glue. Okay, I've smeared back and forth the glue to get a nice good coating, and we're going to install the spar now. So much for not getting my fingers completely full of glue, but keep it to a minimum. And by smearing it and getting the good coverage while it's out of the plane, it'll let it tack up a little bit, and then you can just wipe off the excess. And then just push together. Make sure you got a good bond between both sides of the foam and the spar. Okay, once that's done, we'll just do a quick check on the alignment. That's what our tape measure's for. And just go from the edge of the aileron to the edge of the elevator. Okay, we turned our plane around just to make it easier for the camera to pick up. Okay, we're just going to run a bead of glue down all the tabs that are going to go into the slots and along the fuselage. Then we'll insert it. Try not to go over the tops because the top isn't going to adhere to anything until the upper vertical fuse is in place. Make sure to get a good bead around the nose area. And something I like to do, the glue also acts as like a lubrication. I like to put a little bit on the sides, just near the tops of these tabs. It'll make sure they're really nice and secure, not only on this area, but also here. And it'll lock them in really good. It'll also help to, like I said, the glue acts like a lubrication. It'll also help you slide them into the slots on the horizontal fuse. Don't go too heavy because a lot of this is going to squeeze out. Just near the tops of these tabs. Also, don't forget to get the front here. Okay, you can choose to pull this out and let it tack up a little bit, but I suggest not doing that because it'll be difficult to get these tabs into the slots if it tacks up too much. We'll let this set up a little bit and then we'll move on to the side stiffeners, and also if you choose to run the rear brace back here, we'll put that on. There's a couple of options if you're going to fly this primarily indoors and use lighter packs and outrunners and ESCs, etc. You can skip that. Also, one of the next steps would be putting in the landing gear, and depending if you're going for the lightest possible setup, you may choose to leave the landing gear off. And there's some other little things to save weight. But we'll let this tack up a little and we'll move on to the next step. You can use some cans of pop or vegetable cans, etc. Just hold everything down and keep the vertical fuse at a 90. And we'll just let that tack up and cure for about 15-20 minutes, and then we'll come back.